Management TV, el primer canal de management del mundo. 24 horas de programación desafiante, inspiradora, con realidad e imaginación. Los líderes de las empresas más importantes como nunca los viste. Warren Buffett y Bill Gates. Preguntas y respuestas de los hombres más exitosos del mundo de los negocios. Las empresas más importantes del mundo por dentro. Inside Saatchi & Saatchi, la intimidad de una campaña publicitaria exitosa. Cómo se piensa, cómo se plasma y cómo se trabaja en una de las agencias más creativas del mundo. Google, ¿quiénes lo hacen? ¿Cómo lo hacen? Conoce a las personas detrás de la empresa en la que todos buscan trabajar. Management TV, My Business, emprendedores, proyectos, millones de maneras de hacerlo posible. Selling Yourself, entrevistas laborales. ¿Cuántas camisas transpiraste sufriendo por causar una buena impresión? Aprende a venderte de la manera más efectiva. CEO Exchange, entrevistas mano a mano de los CEOs de Coca-Cola, Starbucks, General Electric, Nike, Motorola. Management TV, Performance. Descubre cómo la ciencia y la tecnología ayudan a mejorar el rendimiento de los superatletas. Wall Street Warriors, el centro financiero más importante del mundo, por dentro. The Restaurant. Si siempre soñaste con tener tu propio restaurante, accede a la cocina de este chef que trabaja para alcanzar su sueño. Management TV. A solas con Charlie Rose, Richard Branson, George Soros, Bill Clinton, Al Gore. Conoce de cerca a los líderes que están haciendo historia. Cirque du Soleil. El espectáculo que conmueve al mundo llega a la televisión. Acompaña el día a día de esta compañía que redefinió para siempre el concepto de circo. Esto es Management TV. Las más famosas, las que hicieron historia, las que nacieron grandes y las que se hicieron grandes. Las empresas, testigos de los más espectaculares logros colectivos, forjan el camino de la sociedad. Descubre los secretos de las más exitosas empresas en Management TV. $3,000 empleados. Una compañía. 30 millones de espectadores. 130 ciudades. Su trabajo. Deslumbrar el mundo. Cirque du Soleil. Todos los miércoles en Management TV.
Welcome to Management TV. Today we are with Lynn Heward, former president of Cirque du Soleil. Welcome, Lynn, to our program.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us the story of Cirque du Soleil?
Of Cirque du Soleil, it's 25 years or 23 years, seems short, but to me it seems very long. It started off in the small Quebec town of Bay St. Paul in 1984 with a group of street performers who had managed to get a really good grant from the government of Quebec to celebrate Quebec's 400th birthday. And they bought a big top for about $1 million in those days. It was cheap at the price. And they began touring Quebec and Ontario with a unique sort of hybrid type of show. It wasn't circus per se, it was really elements from street performance. Stilt walkers, Guy played the accordion, Gilles worked with his children on the teeter board, etc. These were characters who had many years of experience playing in Europe, playing in the beaches in Hawaii, and also playing in Canada. They toured North America for about 3 years, and then got their lucky break at the Los Angeles Arts Festival in 1987. They went down there with not a cent in their pockets. They used all their money, they loaded their vans, and they headed down there, and they were an automatic success, which was a good thing because they weren't going to come back if they didn't. That started our North American touring days. Basically, we ran 2 shows, Cirque Réinventé, which means we reinvent the circus, a very pertinent name, I think, and then Nouvelle Expérience in the United States until 1992. And then we got our big Las Vegas break coming from Steve Wynn, at that time the owner of the Mirage Hotel Casino, who let us set up our big top in his parking lot behind the Mirage Hotel. We played there for about a year as we were building what has now become Cirque's longest running show, Mystère, which went into the Treasure Island Theater, and history sort of goes on from there. We now have 5 permanent shows in Las Vegas. We have 7 shows touring the world right now, and a brand new one opening next week in New York City called Windtuck.
What's unique about the Cirque du Soleil? What were they so successful?
There's a lot of talk about being able to carve out your own niche in the world of business. And I think that Cirque's origins in street performance, taking something that was essentially saltimbanque, which from the Italian means playing on benches or doing acrobatics on benches, and turning that into first a big top show and then into a live theater show like in Vegas, was something special at the time. But this group of people, Guy and Gilles St. Croix particularly, were quite wise because they realized if the success were going to continue, they would have to branch out. And this meant in the late 1980s bringing in Chinese circus acrobats. Chinese circus doesn't actually use animals, it's acrobats. Bringing in theater performers, singers, dancers, musicians. And then in the early 90s, which is the wave that I joined at Cirque, bringing in gymnasts, divers, synchronized swimmers, etc. So always looking for what's the new hybrid, what is going to be the next generation of shows, what is the next challenge, never being satisfied with what you were at the last stop.
That sounds great from the creative part, but what about the business model? How do you ensure that on each step of growth and development you make money out of it?
Okay. Cirque is unique, particularly in Canada. I'm not sure how it is in South America, but in Canada, most of the arts are subsidized by the government. Cirque took money for its first show, the very first show, which was called Cirque du Soleil, and then after that sort of put its foot down and said, we can stand alone. We can make good enough shows that we can sell enough tickets and survive. And at first, Cirque wasn't being performed 12 months a year. It was being performed during the summer months because we have something called winter in Canada, and obviously it's a little difficult to compete against the snow. Gradually growing was one of the things that Cirque did well. The other thing is Cirque is a very opportunistic company. We jumped into Los Angeles without knowing whether we'd be successful there. We put our hands in our pockets, we went down there and were successful, and that opened a few more doors. I think 2 moments marked Cirque's business history. One was breaking into the Las Vegas marketplace. So taking our shows, which were essentially touring shows that went into families' markets, going to your home and into Sao Paulo and going into Mexico City and going into New York City and actually taking the show to the markets versus them coming to see you in Las Vegas because it's a tourist resort. The same thing with Orlando. Disney gave us that opportunity in 1998, Las Vegas in 1992-93. Now we're moving into markets like Tokyo, Macau, New York City, but only on a 4-month-a-year basis. That was, for me, the second major business hurdle, recognizing that there are two types of markets for us. Going into the families where you bring your kids, you have dinner, you go out, you have fun for an evening, and you go back home, versus people going into a marketplace and spending 2, 3, or 4 days, which allows them to see 2 or 3, hopefully, shows at the same time, as well as eating well in restaurants and doing a little gambling or whatever. So they're different types of markets that we're going into. So for me, that was really the second hurdle of Cirque du Soleil. The third is a new adventure for us. It started, I would say, officially with Love, the Beatles show. Being able to extract some of the best things that the world has ever seen, in this case, the wonderful music of the Beatles, bringing it back, but with a new twist on it, a new performance twist on it. And you'll see that happening with other characters like Elvis in the future, but not relying on the persona, relying on their gift to the world, which was their music.
That sounds great. When I hear all these breakthroughs that you've gone, I can think of, take the Las Vegas show, for example, all the challenges in terms of production, timing, budget, to achieve something that was never done before. Can you tell me, did you ever think that you were not going to make it? How did you actually get there?
I think every time I start a Las Vegas show, I feel like I'm not going to make it. It's all right. It's a delicious challenge. You need that delicious challenge in life, too. First of all, there were other people doing it. You know, building shows from scratch has been done in London, has been done on Broadway for many, many years. I think what we were fortunate enough was setting up with a great business partner. Cirque is not in our Las Vegas shows alone. We're associated with the MGM Mirage Group, and better partners you're not going to find. The same thing with Disney and Orlando. First of all, we want to be creative content providers. We don't want to be builders. We don't want to build buildings. We don't want to put bricks. We don't want to operate theaters. Working in Las Vegas has allowed us a partnership where the casino owners do what they do best, which is build magnificent buildings and operate them. We can focus on the creative content that we're putting in the show, and above all, maintaining the quality of the creative content in those shows. Because Vegas is a place where a show can open quickly and close just as quickly 6 months later. So there has to be a focus not on just creating the show, but sustaining that show over the long haul in order to make your business venture with your partner a successful one. He has invested in building a magnificent theater. You have invested in hopefully making a magnificent show, and you want those things to run for as long as you can. Same thing with our new type of touring. We have 2 shows, Saltimbanco, which you've seen in South America, in one format, which is under the big top. That's like a turtle and a shell. The big top is our touring shell, and we carry it on our back. But Saltimbanco has just been converted into an arena touring show. So we're able to take a Saltimbanco to smaller markets for shorter periods of time without the burden of the cost of bearing that shell on our back as we move from city to city. So we actually have 2 shows, Delirium and Saltimbanco, one touring Europe and the other one touring North America right now, with a new model and a new partner, Live Nation. So these partnerships have become critical in allowing Cirque to focus on what Cirque does best, which is create and provide creative content without making the weight of either touring or presenting the show too heavy a burden for a creative company to carry.
When I hear these developments and challenges, I realize the key role that talent plays in your business. And how do you manage talent? I heard once you told me that you can spend more than 6 months recruiting someone that you actually don't hire. Tell me a little bit about that.
We can spend many more months than that looking for talent. First of all, a talent search for us is twofold. A talent search is to find new ideas and inspirations, okay? A person, you can find inspiration anywhere around the world, from India to South Africa to Buenos Aires, and we do have artists from here, to Montreal. You'll find talent all around the world, but it's not just the talented individual, it's what he or she is able to contribute creatively to a production. So when we're scouring this world in search of talent, we're doing more than that. We're looking for ideas and inspirations, and we're looking for talented people at the same time. The talent search process, if you want to call it, we call it casting. Okay, this is the term we use. Casting is a year-round activity. We have about 50 people in our casting department at Montreal who literally scour the world. Some people are on the road as much as 187 days a year looking for talent. They go to circus festivals, of course, but they also go to dance festivals and fringe festivals and music festivals. They go to the World Swimming Championships, the World Diving Championships, the Olympic Games, all first seeking ideas and then seeking talent. Then when we see people who are talented, and talent is half of the equation, there's a second half to the equation.
Which is?
We bring them to Montreal and we push them to their limits, okay, from their talent point of view, but at the same time we try to evaluate their core human values that we're seeking in Cirque du Soleil members. What are those core human values? Wanting to be a member of a team, okay? Wanting to be a member of a team. Being able to work in a team to solve creative problems. Courage to take risks. Both physical risks and artistic risks. You take a gymnast, and he's used to taking some physical risk, but he may not have ever been asked to take an artistic risk. We will ask them to take an artistic risk. Generosity, not only toward the spectator, because they're our audience, but also in sharing their creative ideas with other people in a team. A lot of people like to keep the best for themselves. A willingness to participate in their own artistic growth. We don't want people who arrive in our studio and say, just teach me how to dance, or teach me how to sing, or teach. We want them to be involved in that process. So we're looking not only at a set of talents, but we're looking at a set of core human values that will make them successful inside the company. It's hard work too.
And how much time do they spend in Canada in all this process? And how much money do you spend per candidate, for example, is an indicator of the complexity of it?
There are two processes we're talking about. One is casting, and the other is training, or as I like to call it, treasure hunting and creative transformation. Sounds more exotic, doesn't
absolutely.
it? Lovely. Casting is a year-round process, so whatever it costs to maintain 50 people running around the world is the cost. But the big dilemma here is when you make a new show, your artists will be involved in that process not for 1 week or 2 months or 3 months. The artist will be involved in that process usually starting a year before the opening of the show, because they are part of the creative process. We're not just telling them what to do, they're part of the creation process. So when you're building a new show, you're talking anywhere from 9 months to a year, maybe even 15 months of preparation for artists for a new show because you're creating with them.
Wow.
You're not creating just for them. There's a participation that's going on.
But they're already hired by then?
Yes, but there's a probationary period of 6 months.
6 months.
That's it. And then we have what we call a general training program. Obviously running 13 or 14 shows worldwide all the time means that there will be a changeover in performers in the shows. This is normal. About 10 to 15% per year, people moving from one show to the other. So we need new performers. We bring those people into Montreal for a minimum of 16 weeks with no promise of a job.
Wow.
Okay, we train them. Okay, we train them in their acrobatic specialty, but then we test all of that other stuff I was talking about, like the ability to work together in a team, the willingness to take artistic risks, their generosity towards the spectator, etc. And then at the end of the 16 weeks, about 50%, between 33 and 50% of those people will be offered a job, and the other people for the next 6 months have the potential to be offered a job as well. So it's a risk for them, it's a risk for us. It's a fairly costly process. We're usually looking in the neighborhood of about $20,000 to cast an artist and around $40,000, $50,000 to train, well, to get the artist ready to go on stage.
That's impressive. You mentioned several qualities that you were looking in candidates, like generosity, both towards the team and the audience. Do you think those qualities should be searched for in any team members in any type of company?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because that's what gives you the creative latitude that you need. That generosity, this notion of being able to share creative ideas, or any kind of idea, but most ideas are creative, is a key to evolving into the future and being successful in the future. The worst thing is to have somebody who is so talented standing in front of you, but who doesn't want to be part of a team and doesn't want to share those ideas. Because ultimately, when you're doing 474 shows a year, and that's one Las Vegas show is 474, you need somebody else to support you. You have a little injury, you're sick for an evening, and you want somebody else to come in and take your place in the show. If you're generous, people will be generous to you. It's teamwork. And in our business, there's a certain truth in saying that our lives depend on teamwork, the ability to work. If you look at the Banquin act, for example, in Quidam, or any of the group acts in Saltimbanco or Alegria, you realize that people's lives depend on the attention and the generosity of the people who are supporting them within the acts.
What other lessons or other key factors in your success you think could be applied to other type of businesses?
I think Cirque has a very healthy attitude to taking opportunity and risk.
Okay.
We're good risk takers. People often ask me, most often ask me, what about failure? And I looked at them and I said, what is failure? If you do research and development, there is always a chance of error. But the good thing about an error is you can sit back, you can analyze it, and you look at it and said, okay, I did this part of it right, but I didn't quite get this part of it, I should try something different. And the good thing about Cirque, and I often tell this story, we will start building something, a piece of equipment for one of our shows, like Mystère. And we'll work on it for 12 months or 18 months, whatever the production time is. And it's not quite right, okay? And we decide that we're not going to use it for Mystère. But lo and behold, it reappears in Alegria, or it reappears in Quidam. When we have a little bit more time and energy to put into it, it's not lost money, it's an investment in the future. And I think Cirque is wise. We set aside the resources that we need to do the type of research and development we know. We have certain targets for specific research and development on each show, usually built on something that we've experienced in some way in the past. And we also know that a certain number of projects will be put aside for tomorrow, but it's not a failure.
What percentage of the projects are put aside?
I would say maybe 40% on a given show.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but they will come back. They will come back and haunt you like a ghost.
Because there was something attractive to
about
it.
That's right.
Something that you enjoyed.
It haunts you like a ghost until it gets put into a show.
It becomes a challenge to get all the issues out of the way to implement the good aspect of it.
And we're always looking, one of the tricks with Cirque is that we're looking at a balance between human performance, which must predominate what we're doing. The most important thing that we do is human performance versus technology. Our show in Las Vegas is a really excellent example. We built this magnificent gantry crane with this magical floor that appears out of nowhere, out of a giant abyss and everything. And when we first opened the show, we were struggling with that balance between the importance of technology and the importance of human performance. And who are our most critical eyes? Our spectators. And they're the ones that will tell us, hey, I didn't get the human performance. And then you go back and you look at your show again and you make sure that technology is there in support or to enhance the performance, but never to distract or take away from the human performance. But our spectators tell us that. That's the other thing Cirque has learned to do, particularly in the last 5 or 10 years, is listen to its consumers. We're good at listening to the consumers. Our brand platform is a very solid brand platform. You cannot ignore your consumers. You can't create around them. You have to create with them. Okay. And for us, that's also been very important. Being able to read the public. Qui la liberté is extremely good at reading the public.
What is the market asking you for the next 5 years? What are your biggest challenges?
Well, the next 5 years worth of challenges are already being worked on right now. It's more like
we should think about 10 years now.
First of all, opportunities are arising around the world for permanent show locations. Macau is expanding at a rate that is astronomical. Dubai. Tokyo is always there. We've never had a show. Finally, we're getting something small, not small in New York, but it's 4 months. It's winter and it's 4 months in New York. So that market is still a very enticing market. It allows us to do things that we can't necessarily do all the time when we're touring with a touring show. So that's certainly one thing. And I think one of Cirque's big challenges is going to be able to try and find a way, because a lot of this world, I would say probably 95% of this world or more, has never seen a Cirque show live. What means can you use through television, through film, etc., to make Cirque du Soleil accessible to those people, but in a way where we like what we're seeing and being satisfied that we're transmitting a really good Cirque du Soleil experience through the medium of television or webcast or whatever. That will be a challenge.
Well, you've produced shows on TV, and we are airing the series of shows of Cirque du Soleil, but they have represented a challenge for you.
Big challenge. I would say that The Fire Within, which is the show you're talking about, because it's a documentary on the creation process of a show, it's actually very realistic. It's hard. The creation process is a show. It's very hard for something which ultimately will be very beautiful, which is the show itself. But our challenge is trying to transpose the show itself to an acceptable medium. We've done IMAX, we've done television programs, we did even a television series a few years ago, 13 episodes, not The Fire Within, but based on Cirque du Soleil acts, but with stories entwined, love stories and that kind of stuff. But we still haven't found the medium which will give the people the same rich experience that they will get inside the big top or inside the theater.
We've talked about the challenges you have and the ones you had to get here, a little bit of the lessons for the business world. Let me end with a question on one or two tips you would give to an owner of a mom and pop store, a small, apparently traditional store, because they might think, oh, this is not for me. What would you tell them to foster innovation, the creative process?
First of all, even a mom and pop shop deserves to have the most talented and most devoted employees. The first thing you have to do in a mom and pop shop, like we do at Cirque, is invest in people, okay? Cultivate people. Keep the passion in your people, okay? That helps sell a lot. There's nothing like a passionate salesperson or a passionate waitress, waiter. They sell your product. So first and foremost, like talent identification is important to Cirque, talent identification is probably the most significant thing in any creative adventure or any entrepreneurial adventure that you're going in there. It's find the talent and keep the passion of those people alive. How to keep it alive?
Yeah.
A lot of things. First of all, investing in training.
Yes.
There are small trainings and there are big trainings. We have big trainings, but there are small trainings that can be done, allowing people access to growth, personal growth, yes, through their work. Allowing them career advancement. I have a guy who came into Cirque du Soleil as an artist in 1992 in Musée. He was a trampolinist and a diver. And he was getting old. He's 47 years old now, so he was 32 when he came in. And I said, Rob, I don't know how long this love affair is going to last. And he said, well, I'm going to make it last as long as I can. And he started getting close to 40. And I said, you know, Rob, your knees tweaking out on the teeter board, et cetera. It's time to start looking. And because he'd been a diver, I thought, we'll take him out and we'll make him a coach on O. Within 3 years, he was the artistic coordinator and then the artistic director of O.
Wow.
And now he's an acrobatic creator. So he's creating new acrobatic acts for our new shows in our studio. So in 15 years, he went from being an artist to one of our leading acrobatic creators in the company. But you have to give them the opportunity. You have to see a career path for
yes,
these people. And there are businesses where you just need people who are good and work hard, but keep them passionate about their job.
Passion. That sounds great. A great word to finish our interview, keeping ourselves passionate with what we do. Thank you very much, Ling, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
¿Por qué venden los que venden? ¿Qué provoca el éxito rotundo o el estrepitoso fracaso de los productos? La disciplina más misteriosa del hacer empresarial, como nunca antes la viste. El marketing y la publicidad, como nadie te lo mostró. En Management TV.
There is three things to make this show happen. Emotion, emotion, and emotion. Give your soul to touch their heart.
Sus nombres son titulares de diarios y revistas, sus decisiones son noticia, sus declaraciones conmueven a la opinión pública, pero a solas, solo con Charlie Rose.
You have to be the lead writer or the CEO or the person in the middle, but you've got to have great people around you.
So we want you know, to have time to make them feel that they're part of our company and that they're part of a great adventure.
I didn't come from the computer industry. I wasn't an engineer, and I was a woman on top of it. That whole package together represented change.
A solas con Charlie Rose. Solo por Management TV.